you're scrolling. Not because you're looking for something specific, just scrolling. And then you catch yourself. You look at the time, 40 minutes gone. And something happens inside you that's hard to explain. It's not exactly guilt. It's not stress. It's more like a quiet loss. Like you just spent something you can't get back. And the strange part? You've spent money before without feeling that way. You've bought things on impulse, made questionable financial decisions, and moved on just fine. But 40 minutes of nothing? That one stays with you. Most people don't feel that. Most people check the time and shrug. But you feel it somewhere deeper. And I want to tell you something about that feeling, because it might be the first sign of something researchers have been quietly studying for years. Something that shows up before the money, not after it. Oh, stay with me, because this is going to get interesting. I'm Berg, and this is Blue Money Mind. If you're new here, welcome. We study the psychology behind financial behavior, not tips, not hacks. The actual mental patterns that separate people who build wealth from people who stay stuck. If that's the kind of content you want more of, subscribe now. Because this video in particular, I think it's going to explain something about you that you never quite had words for. Large-scale research involving over 1,000 millionaires has found something that challenges almost everything we think we know about wealth. The difference isn't education. It isn't intelligence. It isn't timing or luck or the right connections. What the data consistently shows is that wealthy people think and feel differently from the general population. And here's the part that changes everything. These differences aren't the result of having money. They're what drove them toward it. The mindset came first. The wealth came second. So what we're really talking about today are 8 psychological patterns that tend to exist in people long before their bank account reflects it. Some of them are subtle. Some of them you've probably been told were flaws. And some of them, you've spent your whole life thinking made you a little strange. The first sign is something you already felt in that opening scene. You experience time differently. Not in a productivity-obsessed way. Not in the hustle 24/7 way people perform on social media. It's quieter than that. When you waste time, something in you registers it as an actual loss. But when you invest money in a course, in a business, in something that might grow, you don't feel that same weight. For most people, it's the opposite. Money feels real, tangible, painful to let go. Time feels abstract, renewable, easy to spend. The millionaire mind reverses that equation without even trying. Research consistently shows that wealthy individuals treat time as their most finite resource, not money, and that this orientation appears long before wealth accumulates. It's not a habit they developed after getting rich. It's something they already had. The second sign is one of the most psychologically rare traits you'll find in humans. When something goes wrong, your first instinct isn't to find who's responsible. It's to find what you did. This isn't self-punishment. It's not low self-esteem or excessive responsibility. It's something much more specific, what psychologists call an internal locus of control. Studies on high net worth individuals found something remarkable. The super rich, more than any other group, tend to blame themselves when things go wrong. Not because they're masochists, because they genuinely operate from the belief that they created the situation, which means they can change it. Harv Eker, in his research on wealth psychology, put it plainly. Rich people believe, I create my life. Everyone else believes, life happens to me. And if you've always had that first orientation, even when it was uncomfortable, even when it would have been easier to point fingers, that's a sign. The third sign is one that almost no one talks about, and it's this. You don't feel a strong need to announce when things are going well. Not because you're hiding it, not because you're insecure, but because it just doesn't feel necessary. Thomas Stanley and William Danko spent years studying actual millionaires in America, and what they found shocked the financial world. Most of the people living in the expensive neighborhoods weren't wealthy. They had high incomes that left just as fast as they arrived. The real millionaires were clustered in modest neighborhoods, driving used cars, wearing unremarkable clothes, saying nothing about it. Roughly 4 out of 5 were first-generation rich. Built it themselves, quietly, over decades. The silence wasn't performance. It was function. When you're not broadcasting your progress, you're not feeding it to an audience. You're feeding it back into the work. The fourth sign, and this one is subtle but powerful, is that when you think about achieving something, you instinctively think in terms of systems, not goals. Most people say, I want to make $100,000 this year. The millionaire mind says, I need a mechanism that consistently generates $8,300 a month. Same destination, completely different operating logic. Goals are endpoints. Systems are engines. And the psychology behind this is significant people who think in systems are essentially training their brains to look for repeatable structures rather than one-time wins. They're not chasing peaks. They're building floors. If you've ever caught yourself less excited by the achievement and more interested in the process that made it possible, you know exactly what I mean. The fifth sign is one that the traditional education system actively worked against in you. You can act without certainty. You can move before you have all the information. Not recklessly, but without that paralyzing need for every variable to be controlled before you take a step. Research on super wealthy individuals found something that rarely makes it into mainstream financial advice. There is no meaningful correlation between academic performance and financial success. None. What does show up consistently is something researchers call implicit knowledge, a kind of pattern recognition and gut-level intuition that operates faster than conscious analysis. The school system rewarded people who gave the right answer. The financial world rewards people who move intelligently through uncertainty. And if you've always been more comfortable with ambiguity than most people around you, that's not a gap in your confidence. That might be one of your most underestimated assets. The sixth sign is the one most people won't admit to publicly because it goes against a very comfortable social narrative. You admire people who have more than you, not just tolerate them. Actually, admire them, not with envy that curdles into resentment, with something that feels more like recognition, like their success is evidence of what's possible, not a threat to what you deserve. Ecker's research identified this as one of the most consistent differentiators between wealth-building minds and everyone else. Poor people resent the rich, he found. Wealthy people admire them. And the psychology underneath that is significant. Resentment is a declaration of impossibility. It's saying, on a subconscious level, they have what I could never have. Admiration is a declaration of potential. It's saying, they've proven the thing is real. In a culture where it's socially safer to criticize success than to respect it, feeling genuine admiration without needing to qualify it, without feeling guilty about it, is rarer than it sounds. The seventh sign is one that creates a specific kind of friction in the conventional work world. You instinctively think about value delivered, not hours spent. When you're doing something, some part of your brain is always doing a quiet calculation that has nothing to do with how long it took. It's about what it produced. This is more than a preference for results-based pay. It's a fundamental mismatch with the logic of trading time for money, which is the operating system most people run on without questioning. Research found that people with the millionaire mindset see time for salary arrangements as a short-term starting point, not a long-term structure. Not because they're lazy, but because they understand, almost intuitively, that the equation doesn't scale. And if you've ever sat in a meeting that paid you by the hour while you were mentally calculating what you could build with that hour instead, you know exactly the kind of dissonance I'm talking about. The eighth sign is the one that runs deepest, and it's this: the way you experience pleasure from a purchase is different. When you buy something that could grow a book, a course, a skill, an investment, there's a specific kind of satisfaction that comes with it. And when you buy something that will only depreciate something purely consumable, something that will be worth less tomorrow than it is today, there's often a quiet friction. Not always loud enough to stop the purchase, but present. Research on wealth psychology consistently shows that people who build lasting wealth orient their spending toward assets, things that appreciate, and feel a kind of internal misalignment when they move in the opposite direction. This isn't financial discipline in the traditional sense. It's deeper than that. It's the way the mind has learned to register value, not as price, but as trajectory. Here's the part that changes how you look at all of this. These 8 signs aren't behaviors you can just decide to have. They're not habits you pick up from a checklist. Researchers describe them as pre-conscious response patterns, ways your mind processes the world that operate before you choose. Which means 2 things. First, if you already have them, you didn't earn them in a conventional way. You built them somewhere along the way, often through friction, often without knowing what you were developing. Second, most people who have these traits have spent a significant portion of their lives being told directly or indirectly that something was a little off about them, that they were too serious about time, too quick to blame themselves, too quiet about their wins, too obsessed with how things worked, too comfortable with uncertainty, too strange in their relationship with money. What looked like a misalignment was actually a blueprint. And this is what the research ultimately lands on. The rare millionaire mind isn't defined by how much it accumulates. It's defined by how it processes the world, quietly, systematically, without needing external validation to keep going. If you recognized yourself in more than a few of these signs, maybe the question was never whether you had the right mindset. Maybe the question was whether you were in an environment that knew what to do with it. Because some minds aren't built for average. They're just waiting for the right conditions to become undeniable. Which of these 8 signs felt the most like you? Let me know in the comments. I read every single one. And if this kind of content makes you understand yourself and others a little better, subscribe to Blue Money Mind. There's a lot more where this came from.